Volume 14, Elephant Armored School, Chapter 92, 1-Minute Victory. The Heaven-Do Imperial Academy Second Team's 5 charging power attack system Spirit Masters ran directly into a solid blue-silver prison and were immediately confused. Relying purely on physical momentum, it was impossible to break the blue-silver prisons. And that control system Spirit Master and the support system woman behind them were even more firmly restrained. Through clever control, Tang San used blue-silver prisons to directly cut off their line of sight. Even though this spirit ability couldn't prevent them from using their spirit abilities, with their vision obstructed, how could they assist their teammates? The Heaven-Do Imperial Academy's 5 assault members ran into blue-silver prisons and their forward momentum naturally stopped. But right now was when the attack of Dai Mabai's trio reached its peak. Those 5 blue-silver prisons only appeared for an instant, blocking the 5 power attack system Spirit Master's charge, then instantly fading away. But black-blue-silver grass already engulfed their legs from below, in the blink of an eye completing binding. By combining and switching abilities, Tang San didn't give the opponents any chance to resist. White Tiger Meteor Shower. Dai Mabai shouted and all the tiger stripes on his overbearing body became golden. With a roaring sound, golden light burst out. Countless fist-sized golden balls of light appeared with him as the center, and instantly locked on and blasted the opponents head-on. Tai Long also took advantage of the opportunity to grab his opponent who was struggling in the blue-silver grass, heaving him up high and heavily smashing him down on the ground. And Huang Yuan was like a sandstorm in front of his opponent, his attacks pouring down like howling wind and torrential rain. Was blue-silver grass so easy to throw off? After the nourishment of the 4th spirit ring, and a 10,000-year spirit ring at that, the current blue-silver grass had already reached a terrifying degree of toughness. Through the thorns its poison flowed into these universally 35th ranked spirit masters. Being bound by Tang San's initial move, struggling free was no doubt a pipe dream to them. Control system spirit masters restrained the majority of other spirit master systems, and Tang San's spirit power and spirit abilities were even more beyond these opponents. Further adding their distraction at the start, the moment blue-silver grass twisted around them, the outcome of this battle was already set. Xiao Wu and Jing Ling had now also reached their chosen opponents. Jing Ling's target was that petite control system spirit master. He wasn't as fast as Zhu Zhuqing, but as an agility attack system spirit master it was already astonishing. While moving like the wind, his whole body had transformed into a bulky skeleton, appearing exceptionally terrifying. His large hands had turned into 2 bone knives, and as he arrived in front of that control system spirit master he already directly unleashed his 3rd spirit ability, Mad Battle. Attack speed and attack power simultaneously rose by 50%. Just as the blue-silver prison disappeared, the 2 bone knives chopped directly at the opponent like a whirlwind. That petite man's spirit was a ring, categorized as a tool spirit. His control relied mainly on this ring, but needed time to use high-level spirit abilities. If he had power attack system spirit masters to block the enemy offensive for him, that bit of time wasn't much. However, as he himself was restrained by that blue-silver prison, his heart was already in disorder. Right now, where would there still be time to launch spirit abilities? Helplessly, he could only use his 1st and 2nd spirit ability to strengthen the ring's attributes and block. 100-year spirit abilities clashing with a 1,000-year spirit ability, it was no contest. Xiao Wu and Tang San no doubt had the deepest mutual understanding. When Xiao Wu was still 5 meters away from that auxiliary system spirit master, Tang San already withdrew the blue-silver prison. He didn't even use blue-silver grass to bind the opponent. After all, that was only an auxiliary system spirit master. Teleportation, soft skill, waist bow. Xiao Wu's motions were like moving clouds and flowing water, being derided and insulted before. Her waist bow was ruthless. Slender thighs coiled around the opponent's neck, throwing her up into the air. A loud miserable shriek rose practically simultaneously over the stage, and as the female support spirit master was caught by Xiao Wu's graceful backward somersault, the blood-curdling shriek cut in half as she already fainted. As for just how many bones she broke, that was something only Xiao Wu knew. Skeleton Spirit Master Jingling was ordinarily cold, but this attack was extremely fierce. With Tang San's cooperation, the Agility Attack System Spirit Master could exhibit his full attack power, and the opponent's ring was basically unable to keep up with his attack speed. A moment later, blood blossomed in all directions, and a miserable shriek rose. If it hadn't been for the tournament banning killing, his attack would have been even fiercer, striking directly at the vitals. As for the 5 power attack system Spirit Masters, their physique was no doubt valiant, but they confronted 3 who were even more powerful. Dai Mabai took on 3 opponents alone, and as his white tiger meteor shower fell on the opponents, the outcome was already completely without suspense, let alone when the 3 were already caught in Tang San's blue-silver grass binding. Tiger paws swung in succession, and miserable shrieks, sounds of snapping bones, and blood blossomed in all directions. Blitz. This word was very simple, but to the Shrek Academy team it was a secret signal, representing precisely a burst assault. Without holding back anything, relying on accurate control, Tang San didn't participate in the attack, but he successfully fulfilled the proper responsibilities of a control system spirit master. Controlling the battlefield, controlling the enemy, and also controlling his own side so his team members could reveal their full strength. Originally there was a gap between the 2 sides, but this gap was only in that Tang San and Dai Mabai were spirit ancestors, and not decisive. If it had been a head-on confrontation, while the Shrek Academy side would still have won, the battle would also have lasted a while. But Tang San's moves didn't give the other side the chance to catch their breath, letting his side open up with an assault of their most powerful spirit abilities. The instantly arising burst power basically didn't give the opponents time to react before they were already drowned in attacks like howling wind and torrential rain. Stop, we concede. When the Heaven Do Imperial Academy second team's coach saw that their circumstances were far from reassuring, he hastily threw in a white towel. In addition, he quickly went on stage, preventing the Shrek Academy team from continuing. The referee had already been stunned since as early as when the white tiger meteor shower's dazzling light appeared. Let alone a match between academies, even if it was a spirit battle in the Great Spirit Arena, it would still be rare for such a miserable scene to appear. Heavens, were these really students? Right now, all the 80,000 spectators in the Great Spirit Arena were completely silent. If previously the Shrek Academy team members' clothes had been the target of their ridicule, then by now those snot-green uniforms seemed dazzling. Without the least suspense. This really was a match without the least suspense. Or it might be described as a unilateral massacre. But the target of extermination wasn't the Shrek Academy as they'd thought, but rather the target of their hopes, the symbol of Heaven Do Empire's imperial family, Heaven Do Imperial Academy's second team. Tang San's gaze coldly swept across the audience, seemingly using his expression to tell them who the strong was. Shrek's 7, using their own tyrannical strength, had choked all insults to them. Contempt or disdain, these expressions had disappeared long ago. What remained was only shock and disbelief. Referee, I must file a complaint. They basically weren't competing, but murdering. They violated the rules of the competition. I demand they be judged. Seeing each and every one of his team members covered in blood, bones broken and tendons snapped, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy coach snarled at the referee. The referee had already come back to himself, and immediately gazed strictly at the Shrek Academy team members. Tang San smiled calmly, saying, "Respected referee, I only want to ask you one thing. Are they dead?" The referee looked distracted a moment, turning his head to look at the 7 members of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy second team on the ground. Indeed, even though these 7 were all severely injured, they still breathed and shouldn't be in danger of dying. Tang San indicated Jiang Zhu behind him. The ability of our auxiliary system spirit master is healing. She deployed her spirit at the beginning, releasing the healing capability. This healing ability is enough to cover the whole stage. That wasn't in order to heal us, but rather for them. If we really wanted to kill them, would we heal the opponents? But it seems they don't need our healing. Senior Jiang Zhu, stop. Tang San's voice was very loud, and he carefully amplified his voice with spirit power to spread across the whole arena, letting everyone hear. Letting their side spirit master heal the opponents from the beginning, what kind of contempt was that? But the Shrek Academy really revealed enough strength to justify such contempt. The referee looked at this side, then again at that side, and for a moment he also didn't seem to know just how to call it. At this moment, another 2 referees ran up, and after the 3 bowed their heads to talk it over, the first referee loudly declared, "Pre-selection competition first round, first match, Shrek Academy's victory." This was a 1-minute victory. Hong, the audience instantly erupted in an enormous discussion. For a moment there were doubtful voices, praising voices, even more were still just shocked. The Grand Heaven Do Imperial Academy's second team was actually smashed in under a minute by some unknown Spirit Master team. The shock it produced was really too large. Emperor Zhu Yi stood up with an ashen complexion, his gaze falling on the despondent Prince Zhu Xing. With a cold snort, he brushed with his sleeves and left. Ning Fengji followed Emperor Zhu Yi from the VIP section with a smile on his face, but Platinum Bishop Salus still sat pondering in his seat, reflecting on something. In the seats specially furnished for competing academy spectators, Flender stood up with a smile across his face, saying to Grandmaster and Lu Erlong, "I'll leave first." Lu Erlong distrustfully asked, "Boss Fu, where are you going?" Flender laughed out loud. "The little monsters have made such an outstanding display, and the advertisement on our clothing has been revealed. I think that some people with a little bit of insight should have seen the power of our Shrek Academy. I still need to properly consider the advertisement, opening at a high price, to earn a bit of money for the Academy. This time I think it'll be impossible for our Academy's reputation not to spread." Pulling on the lapels of his clothes, he meticulously arranged the Academy symbol to reveal it clearly. Flender didn't know how long it had been since he vented his anger like now. He had never forgotten the humiliation from that time at Heaven Do Imperial Academy, and this moment the stifling haze in his heart had been swept away. He clearly understood that Tang San and Dai Mabai leading the students to defeat the opponents in such a thunderous manner, even to the extent that they used their 4th spirit abilities to pursue complete victory, wasn't because they were angry with the opponents, but rather for him, to rinse the resentment of Shrek Academy. Heaven Do Imperial Academy, that dog fart Prince Zhu Xing, want to chase us off? Fine, then we won't let you pass the qualifying rounds. Practically each of the 7 members from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy second team before had broken bones. Those weren't injuries that could heal in a few days. Lacking this 7-member main force, how could the Heaven Do Imperial Academy second team still reveal their talent in the pre-selection competition? He hadn't been as joyous as he was today for quite a while. At this moment, the always avaricious Flender even considered whether to give all the advertising income to the little monsters. "Third brother, you're too ferocious." Fatty greeted Tang San with a bear hug. "Let's see if that Heaven Do Imperial Academy still dares look down on us." Tang San smiled slightly, saying, "But we also revealed strength. The later teams will certainly draw up tactics to counter us." Oscar smiled. In front of absolute strength, even better tactics might not be useful. If it really won't do, we might as well put the whole Shrek 7 devils on stage and let them have a good look. While speaking, he pulled at the uniform he wore. What if it's not green? As long as we can win, color is no problem. Let's go. We'll return to the academy first. I don't want to have people standing around in a circle watching us later. Dai Mabai called out to everyone, quickly bringing the Shrek Academy team into the competitor passage, quietly departing the stadium. In order to keep from being the focal point, after returning to the rest area, everyone without the slightest hesitation changed out of their snot-green uniforms, putting on their own clothes to leave the Great Spirit Arena. Since they left very quickly, When they left the Great Spirit Arena, the spectator seats had only just started emptying. Today was after all only the beginning. Tomorrow was when the pre-selection competition would truly begin. And when the round-robin tournament went into motion, it would take up a full month of matches. The Shrek 7 Devils now finally understood more and more clearly the benefit of Grandmaster's special training. With the previous experience of a month of continuous matches at Suotuo Great Spirit Arena, the competition now about to unfold was even a bit relaxed compared to then. Rongrong, the Shrek party, was just moving away from the Great Spirit Arena and preparing to directly return to the academy, when they were stopped by a familiar voice. Ning Fengji, changed into ordinary clothing, stood in a corner not far from the entrance, waving a hand in their direction. "Dad!" Ning Rongrong excitedly ran over, throwing herself into her father's embrace. Meeting this 7 treasure-glazed tile school master, Oscar couldn't help appearing somewhat artificial. Ning Fengji pulled Ning Rongrong's hand and walked over. "Hello, Shrek Academy's little friends." Even though he had been far away, the Shrek 7 Devils and the 4 substitute team members had all recognized this schoolmaster, and hastily saluted. Ning Fengji smiled. "No need to be formal, right now I'm only Rongrong's father, don't consider me a schoolmaster. I'm only your senior." Ning Fengji's amicability doubtlessly gave a favorable impression to the Shrek Academy team members. Ning Fengji's gaze fell on Tang San, and he smiled slightly. "Congratulations, little San. I didn't expect you would actually already possess a 10,000-year spirit ring." Tang San said, "Uncle Ning's praise is too much. Rongrong has also already obtained her 4th spirit ring. Only to conserve strength we didn't let her appear today." Ning Fengji nodded with a smile, saying, "I'm very optimistic about you all. Perhaps you will only meet a true opponent in the finals. However, even though you have strength, you still need to guard against pride and impatience. I understand the reason you injured your opponents today, but the less such circumstances appear later, the better. After all, Shrek Academy is also one of the advanced Spirit Master Academies. Antagonizing too many others is no good. You don't need to worry about the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. I've already informed His Majesty. His Majesty is extremely displeased with Prince Zhu Xing's way of handling things back then. If it wasn't because sign-ups can't be altered after the fact, His Majesty would still be of a mind to invite you to Heaven Do Imperial Academy." Tang San calmly said, "We're very happy at Shrek Academy. Thank you, Uncle Ning." Ning Fengji said, "I should be the one to thank you. The quality of your hidden weapons is excellent. If there's any new research later, make sure to come find Uncle first. You set the conditions." While speaking, Ning Fengji released his daughter's hand, rubbing her head and saying, "Go back to your academy comrades. You're a member of Shrek Academy, while Dad is a member of the organizational committee. I can't be together with you much, or people will say I'm biased." Ning Rongrong pouted resentfully. "Let them talk, we'll speak with strength." Ning Fengji smiled. "At 14 you're also considered a young lady, you can't be so mischievous. Well, before leaving, won't you introduce me to your comrades?" Seeing Ning Fengji's expectant expression, besides the Shrek 7 Devils, of the 4 substitutes only Tai Long could keep calm. The light in the eyes of the other 3 was somewhat fiery. Who was this in front of them? The schoolmaster of one of the 3 upper sects. 7 treasure-glazed tile school could be called a paradise that countless spirit masters yearned for. Not only was its reputation in the spirit master world extremely good, and its strength robust, at the same time it was reputed as the richest school in the spirit master world. If a spirit master could attach himself to this school, there would be nothing to worry about for the rest of his life. Ning Rongrong's gaze swept across her companions, and as her gaze met Oscar's, she couldn't keep her heart from beating a bit faster. "Dad, this Sister Jiang Zhu is our senior, 35th ranked healing system tool spirit elder. Just now she was also on the stage." Jiang Zhu hastily bowed to Ning Fengji. In front of schoolmaster Ning, how dare Junior call herself an auxiliary system spirit master? Ning Fengji smiled slightly. Even though he was already past 50, he only appeared to be perhaps 30, and that mature charm made Jiang Zhu bow her head, not daring to look at him. Miss Jiang Zhu's spirit is extremely peculiar. As long as you focus on expanding in the healing system, your future will certainly be good. Many thanks for your directions, Schoolmaster Ning. Hearing Ning Fengji's words, Jiang Zhu's downturned face turned a bit scarlet. She was already 19, and truly a grown young lady. To a girl like this, formidable strength and mature charm held the greatest attraction. When she raised her head to look at Ning Fengji again, she couldn't help blushing even more. Ning Rongrong continued with the introductions. This senior Huang Yuan spirit is Lone Wolf, 35th ranked Power Attack System Battle Spirit Elder. Senior Jing Ling, spirit is Skeleton, Agility Attack System Battle Spirit Master. You've met Big Brother Tai Long, a direct descendant of the Strength Clan, 38th ranked Pure Strength Type Battle Spirit Master. Along with Ning Rongrong's introductions, Ning Fengji nodded to each one and gave a few words of encouragement. Ning Rongrong now reached the introductions of their Shrek 7 devils, and pointed to Dai Mabai, Boss Dai, the eldest brother of our Shrek 7 devils, and also the team captain. His nickname is Evil Eye White Tiger. Even though Dai Mabai is only 17 this year, he's already a 44th ranked battle spirit ancestor. Power attack system. His strength is the greatest among us. Dai Mabai's mood didn't show any change because of Ning Fengji's appearance, his evil eyes looking straight at the schoolmaster as he spoke. I don't dare call myself the strongest. In a duel, I couldn't beat Little San. 17 years old and 44th rank. Really a little monster. Ning Fengji didn't conceal his admiration. Just now I saw your whole battle. Young man, your spirit and spirit abilities are all outstanding. At 17 you already have such achievements, it truly makes me gasp in admiration. I don't know whether you are willing to come take a place at our 7 treasure glazed tile school after this tournament. Hearing Ning Fengji toss out an invitation to Dai Mabai, the other Huang Yuan, Jing Ling and Jiang Zhu couldn't help having somewhat envious expressions. But to their surprise, Dai Mabai shook his head with a calm expression, saying, Junior appreciates Schoolmaster Ning's kind intentions. If there's an opportunity in the future I will certainly visit the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Even though he didn't outright refuse going to the 7 treasure glazed tile school, his first sentence was no doubt a rebuff of Ning Fengji's invitation. Ning Fengji seemed to recall something as he looked at Dai Mabai's double pupils, and somewhat pondering said, Evil Eye White Tiger, so it's like that. Dai Mabai understood that Ning Fengji had already seen through his background. Fortunately, Ning Fengji was observed his words, and didn't reveal it, only smiling at him somewhat mysteriously, you're all Rongrong's companions. If there's anything the 7 treasure glazed tile school can do for you, just come find me at the school. Ning Rongrong next pointed at Oscar. He's called Oscar, second oldest of the Shrek 7 devils, 41st ranked food system tool spirit ancestor. His spirit is sausage. For some reason her voice was somewhat weak when she introduced Oscar. Her flickering gaze didn't dare meet Oscar's eyes, and her heartbeat constantly sped up. Ning Fengji looked at Oscar, inwardly praising such a handsome youth. Food system. May I know how old you are? Oscar suppressed his nervousness with difficulty, and replied deferentially, I'm 16 this year, 1 year younger than Boss Dai. Ning Fengji was gobsmacked, even more than when he found out Dai Mabai was 44th rank. As a great scholar-level figure in the auxiliary system, how could he be unaware of the difficulties in cultivating as a food system spirit master? If an outstanding auxiliary system spirit master could be said to bring out the best in a team, then an outstanding food system spirit master was enough to substantially increase an entire army's battle sustainability. Let alone meeting, he had never even heard about a 16-year-old 41st ranked food system spirit master. Seeing Ning Fengji's shocked gaze, Oscar was inwardly a little bit satisfied, calming somewhat. He rushed to speak before Ning Fengji could. Schoolmaster Ning, I've always admired you. As another auxiliary system, Could I have the privilege of joining the 7 treasure glazed tile school after graduation? Laughter escaped from Ma Hongjun to the side, thinking, do you admire schoolmaster Ning, or adore his daughter? Ning Fengji secretly exulted. Knowing Dai Mabai's identity, he naturally understood he wouldn't join his school. But from his daughter's introduction of these Shrek's 7 devils, they didn't seem to have any less terrifying talent. If he could recruit any one of them would be ideal, let alone such an outstanding food system spirit master. At such a moment he wouldn't put on any airs of the 3 upper sects, and hastily nodded. Exactly what we've been looking for. What the school needs the most are talented little brothers like you. The 7 treasure glazed tile school's door will stand wide open for you at any time. Ning Rongrong somewhat resentfully said, Dad, why do you call him little brother? Call him little Ao, otherwise the hierarchy will be mixed up, and how would I address him then? Ning Fengji laughed out loud, saying, see, aren't I confused from excitement? Little Ao's future as food system spirit master is boundless. Ning Rongrong said, Dad, you're already familiar with third brother, so I won't introduce him to you. He just has a spirit ring more than before, that's all. Ning Fengji tapped his daughter's head, that's all. He already left me and His Majesty unable to hide our shock. The 4th spirit ring being of the 10,000-year level doesn't seem like something that's been ever accomplished before. Even his father didn't have this kind of achievement. Ah, it's a pity, little San, it would have been much better if you'd been my son. Ning Rongrong stuck out her tongue at her father. What? Do I make you lose face? Ning Fengji smiled. How would you? You are my little treasure. My point was that it would have been perfect to have a son like Tang San. Without a doubt, among these children, Tang San was the one Ning Fengji paid the most attention to and was most optimistic about. Even though he couldn't recruit Tang San because of his background, he would still maintain a good relationship with Tang San no matter what. Tang San scratched his head, but didn't speak up. In his heart appeared his father's mean, Dad, would you praise me like Uncle Ning? This is my 4th brother, we all call him Fatty. His real name is Ma Hongjun. 41st ranked power attack system spirit ancestor, his spirit is Fire Phoenix. Ning Rongrong continued with the next introductions. Fire Phoenix. Ning Fengji's eyes brightened as he saw Ma Hongjun nod repeatedly. Among spirits, Dragon and Phoenix were both considered first-rate. This little fatty appeared a bit young, but still had 41st ranked strength. Ning Fengji couldn't help saying to his daughter, Rongrong, you wouldn't be telling me that all of your Shrek 7 devils have already reached the 40th rank. Ning Rongrong giggled, saying, we haven't, Xiao Wu still hasn't reached it. However, she didn't eat the immortal treasure herb third brother gave her, otherwise her rank would no doubt be higher than mine. Ma Hongjun said, hello Uncle Ning, don't you have another daughter as beautiful as Rongrong? If you do, I'll join the 7 treasure glazed tile school as long as you marry her to me. His nature was always very straightforward, and what he said immediately had everyone roaring with laughter. Ning Fengji helplessly said, unfortunately, I only have my darling daughter Rongrong. If she wanted to marry you herself, I wouldn't have any objections. Even though he was joking around, Ning Fengji's words weren't unconsidered. A power attack system spirit master with the Phoenix spirit who broke through the 40th rank as a teenager, in strength he really was entitled to his daughter's hand. Ma Hongjun grinned, saying, then I'll just go find a beautiful wife first. Anyway, didn't you already say the 7 treasure glazed tile school's doors would always stand wide open for us? Ning Fengji nodded earnestly, his gaze sweeping across these children. Yes, each of you will be welcome at 7 treasure glazed tile school. Huang Yuan couldn't help asking, I as well. Ning Fengji smiled, of course. The 7 treasure glazed tile school never refuses talent. Huang Yuan, Jing Ling, and Jiang Zhu were ecstatic. They had found a good place to go before even graduating. What could be more exciting than this? Ning Rongrong said, Xiao Wu is little San's little sister. I think that wherever third brother goes, Xiao Wu will follow. 37th ranked Close Combat Power Attack System Battle Spirit Master. Big Sister Xiao Wu's close combat strength is very powerful. Without using spirits, perhaps we would all be unable to defeat her. Even third brother, Xiao Wu slightly bowed to Ning Fengji, but didn't say anything. Just like Ning Rongrong said, she was only interested in being together with Tang San. Ning Rongrong last introduced Zhu Zhuqing. Zhuqing is a 41st ranked Agility Attack System Battle Spirit Master. She's together with Boss Dai. I'm afraid she wouldn't join our school. Only, Zhuqing, you definitely have to come with Boss Dai to play at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School later. When meeting other people, Zhu Zhuqing wasn't as cold as she was to Dai Mabai. Just like Xiao Wu, she slightly bowed to Ning Fengji. By now there were more and more spectators leaving the Great Spirit Arena. Ning Fengji said, I'm very glad I could meet talented youths like you here today. All right, you return to the academy. Little San, can I speak to you alone? All right. Hearing Ning Fengji ask to talk to him alone, Tang San was at first distracted a moment, but immediately agreed. No matter what else, in his eyes Ning Fengji was a venerable elder, and also Ning Rongrong's father. Ning Rongrong resentfully stuck out her tongue, saying, Dad really is biased, more concerned with third brother than me. Ning Fengji laughed, saying, I need your third brother for serious matters. Be a bit calm at the academy, go quickly. The other Shrek Academy people all left, leaving only Tang San. Ning Fengji brought Tang San to the most bustling street of Heaven Du City, Heavenly Emperor Street. While walking, Tang San asked, Uncle Ning, what did you need me for? Ning Fengji smiled slightly, saying, I'm bringing you to see someone. After I learned of your background back at Shrek Academy, I made some inquiries into why your father originally vanished without a trace. This person knows some of it. Even though it's not the complete story, at least it's some news. Even now I still feel sorry for your father. At that time he left the Spirit Master world just after reaching the title Douluo stage. On hearing it was related to his father, Tang San's heart immediately tightened. Originally he hadn't wanted to have too much contact with Ning Fengji. After all, Ning Fengji was the master of a school, and also good to him. If he was determined to recruit him, it wouldn't be too easy to refuse. But as he heard these words now, Tang San couldn't help feeling gratitude. This Uncle Ning had apparently asked around for his sake. This concern wasn't only to win him over. Ning Fengji brought Tang San straight to an antique tea house. The size of the tea house didn't seem to be very large, only 3 stories with ancient decorations. At this hour, there were only 2 or 3 customers inside, seeming very peaceful. The two reached an elegant room on the 2nd floor, and pushing open a folding screen, Ning Fengji drew Tang San inside. There was only one person inside the room, and having heard the voices of the 2 arriving, he had already stood up. This person appeared to be around 17 or 18, and even though he wasn't as handsome as Oscar, he still had a straight nose and square mouth. He wore clean blue robes, giving people a very fresh and cool impression. A head of long black hair was tied up with blue cloth, and hung neatly behind his head. Even though his clothes were extremely ordinary, he still had a kind of extraordinary charisma. Looking at this person, Tang San couldn't help having a somewhat familiar feeling. But he was certain this was the first time he had met this person. Uncle Ning, you've come. The youth deferentially bowed to Ning Fengji. Ning Fengji smiled slightly, saying, Chinga, I've told you so many times, no need for that. The youth smiled, how could that do? You're a senior, and also Qing's teacher. If father learned I'd been disrespectful to you, he might break my legs. Volume 14. Elephant Armored School. Chapter 93. Reason for Tang House Seclusion. Ning Fengji brought Tang San to a tea house to meet a youth. Qing's gaze shifted to Tang San. This should be Uncle Ning's esteemed brother Tang San. I don't deserve the praise. Tang San nodded lightly at the youth. Ning Fengji smiled. I'll introduce you. Little San, this is the Heaven Du Empire's present crown prince, His Highness Zhu Qing'er. Tang San was inwardly alarmed, and immediately understood why this youth felt familiar. That was it, his appearance was somewhat similar to both Emperor Zhu Yi, as well as the ones that originally inconvenienced Shrek Academy, 4th Prince Zhu Beng and Prince Zhu Xing. So it's His Highness the Crown Prince. Tang San offers his respect. Bowing slightly, Tang San was neither servile nor overbearing. Zhu Qing'er praised. If Uncle Ning hadn't told me, I really would have found it difficult to believe you're only 14. To think that when I was 14, I was just an ignorant boy. I'm happy to meet you, and if you don't mind, call me Big Brother Zhu. It's better not to mention the words, Crown Prince. Tang San couldn't help being astounded by the other party's manner of speech and bearing. Did he really have the same father as that Prince Zhu Beng? Why was there such a difference? As a person of 2 lifetimes, Tang San inferred from Ning Fengji bringing him to meet this crown prince that the prince had already obtained the support of the 7 treasure-glazed tile school. Recalling that Emperor Zhu Yi wasn't exactly young, could it be that there was a struggle for position in the Heaven Du imperial family? Ning Fengji said from the side, "All right, let's sit down and talk. The green tea here is pretty good. Little San, you try it as well." The 3 host and guests sat down, and Zhu Qing'er personally poured tea for Ning Fengji and Tang San. Without need to drink, just the scent had a feeling of penetrating deep into the heart. Further adding the antique decorations in the room, it was very easy to feel relaxed both mentally and physically. Tang San said, "Big Brother Zhu, I heard from Uncle Ning that you knew something about my father going into seclusion." Zhu Qing'er nodded, saying, "Actually, I don't know everything. Only what I heard from the court officials. Your esteemed father was always my idol, so I asked around at that time. According to what I learned, the reason your esteemed father disappeared from the Spirit Master world was related to Spirit Hall." "Hey, Big Brother Zhu, do you know something concrete?" Tang San somewhat anxiously asked. According to what Strength Clan Chief Tai Tan and Ning Fengji said, his father was one of the twin Douluo of the first ranked of the 7 great schools, Clear Sky School. With such a venerable position, how could he have degenerated into a drunkard blacksmith? The reasons for this had always been what Tang San wanted to know. Zhu Qing'er didn't keep him in suspense, nodding, "What I learned was this. Approximately 15 years ago, counting back, it should have been before you were born. Spirit Hall was apparently looking for something. That thing was extremely important to Spirit Hall. Consequently, Spirit Hall dispatched a formidable lineup to search all over. Not only did 4 platinum bishops all participate, but even the Supreme Pontiff at that time as well as his 2 personal guards participated. The people I talked to didn't know what specifically they were looking for, but from the way Spirit Hall's senior members came out in force, that was certainly something extremely important. And this thing seemed to have fallen into your father's hands. At that time your father wasn't at the Clear Sky School, but should have brought your mother to travel the continent. Abruptly getting involved in this matter was presumably also made things extremely difficult. I also don't know the details of the negotiations between him and Spirit Hall. I only heard that your father declared his separation from Clear Sky School not long after. At that time, your father was still a spirit Douluo and hadn't yet reached the title Douluo realm. Not long after this was another piece of news. It was said your father and Spirit Hall had a decisive duel somewhere, and was injured. But they apparently still didn't successfully obtain that thing. It was precisely from that battlefield that it was known your father had already reached the title Douluo stage. Spirit Hall admitted to this themselves, and said your esteemed father had become the nowadays youngest title Douluo. Hearing this, Tang San couldn't help asking, "Then my mother?" Zhu Qing'er shook his head, saying, "My information doesn't have anything pertaining to your mother. Only that less than a month after that battle, Spirit Hall announced the death of the Supreme Pontiff, and the succession of the new Supreme Pontiff. Therefore, my sources judged it very possible that the Supreme Pontiff was severely wounded in the battle with your father, dying not long after, and that your father chose to go into seclusion for this reason. Even though he had separated from Clear Sky School, he was after all still their most important direct disciple. His hiding was presumably also to keep the school from getting involved. After all, Spirit Hall really is too powerful, even so much that they're on an equal footing with the two great empires, not something a single school has the capability to resist. Even the present age's #1 great school wouldn't be capable. It was also starting from this time that the Clear Sky School distanced itself from people's eyes, and very rarely moved in the Spirit Master world. Ning Fengji interjected, "If all this is true, then what's most important is finding out just what that thing Spirit Hall fought over was, and the true circumstances of that fight. This is perhaps also something only those involved would know. Only, it's certain the battle is closely related to your father's reason for going into seclusion." Tang San silently nodded. Even though Zhu Qing's words were somewhat discrepant from his own conjecture, it was still extremely reasonable. In the Douluo continent, only Spirit Hall would have the strength to force a titled Douluo into seclusion, and force the #1 great school into seclusion. If his father had really killed the Supreme Pontiff, then the hatred and desire for revenge between him and Spirit Hall were enormous. In order to avoid implicating the school, in order to avoid pursuit, he had brought him to live in a small mountain village. But in Zhu Qing's entire story there was no mention of his mother. Could it be that his mother had been killed by Spirit Hall in that battle? Unconsciously, Tang San's fists gradually tightened. Even if he had no relationship with his mother in this world, his life was after all given him by this mother. In his body flowed the blood of her and his father. He could not live under the same sky as his parents' enemies. If it truly was done by Spirit Hall, then, thinking of this, an uncontrollable threatening cold light appeared in Tang San's eyes. Zhu Qing'er said, "That's all I know. I truly find it embarrassing. I've dispatched people to investigate, but it's already been more than 10 years, and I'm afraid it won't be very effective. Many thanks for the information, Big Brother Zhu. As far as I'm concerned, being able to learn this is already very useful." Tang San's expression very quickly recovered to normal. Zhu Qing'er smiled faintly, saying, "No need for Brother Tang to be polite, it's as easy as lifting my hand." With the serious matters concluded, the trio drank tea and chatted idly. Tang San discovered that this Zhu Qing'er wasn't only extremely entertaining in conversation, but also had extensive knowledge and learning. His style of conversation relaxed people, and throughout the conversation he never argued. Tang San discovered from his own observations that this person's mind was extremely broad, different as black and white from Prince Zhu Beng and Prince Zhu Xing. "Brother Tang, it would be better to eat lunch together," Zhu Qing'er proposed. Tang San shook his head, saying, "No, I'll still return to the academy." Zhu Qing'er smiled faintly, and pulled out a golden medal from his chest. The golden medal design was simple, but it contained a stream of unusual energy, and on the surface was carved a heaven character. "Since it's like that, as a brother I won't keep you. I'll give you this medal. If there's any matter later on, use it to come find me at the Imperial Palace." Tang San hesitated a moment on seeing the gold medal, and Ning Fengji to the side said, "Qing'er doesn't have any other intentions, take it. This badge is only Qing's personal seal, there are no other uses." Hearing Ning Fengji say this, Tang San didn't decline. Picking up the heavy gold medal, he put it into his 24 moonlit bridges. Zhu Qing'er and Ning Fengji personally saw Tang San to the door of the tea house, and Tang San bid farewell to the two and returned to Shrek Academy. Seeing Tang San's gradually disappearing back, Zhu Qing'er praising said, "Teacher, you're right. He really isn't like an only 14-year-old child. Not only does he conceal his thoughts, but his discourse and manner are all very steady. Truly worthy of being a child of the Clear Sky School." Ning Fengji smiled slightly, saying, "This child's brilliance can't be accorded the Clear Sky School, it all relies on his own capability. Even I can't see his future clearly. If it was another spirit master, it would be very difficult to succeed with blue-silver grass as a spirit, but he's different. At such a young age he has not only already reached the 40th rank, but the strength he has displayed is also not a bit different from 40th ranked spirit masters with first-rate spirits. In the future, if he can settle the issue of twin spirit backlash, this child is bound to become a character who calls the wind and summons the rain in the continent. He will even surpass his father. Zhu Qing'er thought deeply and nodded. I will pay special attention to researching the matters related to Clear Sky Douluo's withdrawal. I hope I can find some accurate information soon. As for Tang San, I'll first build a good relationship with him. Even though he's outstanding, right now he's still too young. Ning Fengji sternly said, Qing'er, I must remind you of one thing. Judging by the time I've interacted with this child, if you want his assistance in the future, then you can't try to recruit him, only try to be a true friend. Zhu Qing'er looked distracted a moment, his gaze meeting Ning Fengji's. After a long time, he slowly nodded, Teacher, I understand. Thank you for your directions. On the way back to the academy, Tang San's head was filled with what Zhu Qing'er said. Father, for what reason did you clash with Spirit Hall? What about Mother? Even though what Zhu Qing'er had talked about hadn't mentioned his mother, Tang San still felt that his father's seclusion was directly related to his mother. The tea house wasn't far from the academy, and Tang San returned very quickly. He headed directly to the log cabin in the academy forest. It had practically become their exclusive training spot. Right now, not only had the team returned, but Grandmaster and Lu Erlong were also back. Only Flender wasn't present. Little San, you're back. Grandmaster saw Tang San return, and waved at him. Teacher, are you looking for me? Tang San asked as he walked over. Grandmaster shook his head, saying, I will train Rongrong alone, you come too. What I say should be useful to you as well. Training her also needs your cooperation. Tang San looked at Ning Rongrong to the side. Right now the others were all in the vicinity of the log cabin, perhaps cultivating, or perhaps sitting together and chatting, but Ning Rongrong was at Grandmaster's side. Follow me. Grandmaster brought Tang San and Ning Rongrong into the depths of the forest, and not even Lu Erlong followed. Having walked several hundred meters, Grandmaster stopped in a relatively spacious area. Ning Rongrong somewhat nervously asked, Grandmaster, what special training do you have in mind for me? Even now she still had a trauma from Grandmaster's special demonic training. Grandmaster said, Rongrong, if I'm not mistaken, your 7 treasure glazed tile school should have a technique called heart separation control. To what degree have you cultivated it? Ning Rongrong looked distracted a moment, afterward answering, right now I've just cultivated it to 3 aperture governing heart. I can just manage to use it. Grandmaster's brows wrinkled slightly, which means, still only the most elementary level. My special training for you is in this special area. Even though the battle today was an easy win over the Heaven Do Imperial Academy second team, their second team absolutely doesn't represent the overall strength of all advanced Spirit Master academies. Especially now that Tang San and Daima Bai's strength has already been revealed. The opponents you will confront in the future will only be stronger and stronger. And that evolved 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda spirit of yours can be said to be extremely gifted and rich in resources. One might say that your ability will have an extremely effect on whether you will be able to become champions. Ning Rongrong giggled, saying, Grandmaster, are you praising me? Grandmaster's complexion was stiff. I'm not praising you. Rather praising your 7 treasure glazed tile school spirit. It's still very difficult to reveal its might with your present capability. It doesn't have a very large effect on the team in a fight. To the side, Tang San astonished said, Teacher, Rongrong is already on the 40th level, her auxiliary is already outstanding. Able to simultaneously boost us 50% in 4 categories at the same time, that instantly erupting strength is practically enough to let us promote 1 class. Grandmaster calmly said, You're not wrong, right now she can boost you 50% in 4 attributes. Then, you ask Rongrong, if you Shrek 7 devils were in a fight together, and she boosted the 6 of you at the same time, how long could she keep it up? Tang San puzzled looked at Ning Rongrong, whose complexion had also changed somewhat. Grandmaster, How do you know the secrets of our 7 treasure-glazed tile school? Grandmaster said, don't forget that I come from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, also one of the 3 upper sects. The secrets of the 7 treasure-glazed tile school's spirit aren't so secret. It's not strange that I know about it. Not just me, but practically all formidable spirit masters would know. But despite this, the 7 treasure-glazed tile school is still the most powerful auxiliary system spirit master clan. Do you know why this is? Ning Rongrong blankly shook her head. To the side, Tang San couldn't help saying, don't tell me it's because of that heart separation control you mentioned. Teacher, can't you explain it clearly? What's the secret of the 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda spirit? Ning Rongrong looked at Grandmaster, who nodded, saying, right, the reason why the 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda holds the title as the #1 auxiliary system spirit is admittedly related to the spirit itself. But this heart separation control is even more important. It's admittedly important to raise spirit power, but to your 7 treasure-glazed tile school, this heart separation control is even more important. If my guess is correct, then Rongrong's father, Schoolmaster Ning's ability in heart separation control should already have reached the 7 aperture exquisite heart level. Tell me if I'm wrong, Rongrong. Ning Rongrong nodded, and at the same time cleared Tang San's doubts. Our 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda spirit's secret lies in spirit power consumption. The higher the level of spirit power, the higher the spirit ring, the more clear the disadvantage is. In my present condition, if I simultaneously boosted the 6 of you 50% in all 4 aspects, at most I could only endure for 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Tang San was gobsmacked. Grandmaster lowered his voice. I called out Rongrong alone in order to keep everyone from hearing this secret. This world is impartial. Even though the 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda is powerful in support, it also has its limitations. Because a spirit master's spirit power is finite, no matter how good your spirit is, if you don't have spirit power to support you, it won't be able to show sufficient results. Because the 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda's support ability is too powerful, its spirit power consumption is subsequently also frightening. Consider, for Rongrong to boost all 6 of you with 50% in 4 attributes with her 40th level spirit power, what kind of concept is that? If it could be kept up for a long time, then wouldn't it be unparalleled? I recalled this issue that day when Rongrong assisted Flender and the others in when we were hunting spirit beasts. If it can't be settled satisfactorily, then it will be very difficult for her 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda spirit to show adequate results in your future matches. Tang San now understood. Then you're saying that the 7 treasure-glazed tile school's heart separation control is the way to deal with it. Grandmaster nodded, saying, that's right. What's called heart separation control has the effect of controlling different spirit abilities at once. This control method is useful to any spirit master, but the effect is particularly pronounced for the 7 treasure-glazed tile school. For common spirit masters, more powerful abilities consume more spirit power, but this isn't the case for the 7 treasure-glazed tile school. Each of their spirit abilities will consume the same amount of spirit power on the same level. Simply put, if Rongrong was a 20th ranked spirit grandmaster, then the spirit power consumption of her 2 spirit abilities would be the 1. Once she reached the 30th rank, the spirit power consumption of her 3 spirit abilities would still be the same. But because the boost rate has gone up, the spirit power consumption has also changed to 2, and so on in a similar fashion. Thus, if she simply releases all her spirit abilities to boost at once, the spirit power consumption would be an astronomical figure. Let alone her, even a titled Douluo would find it very difficult to support that kind of drain. And heart separation control is the key point to settling this issue. One might say that in battle, the support needs of each combatant is different. For example, with Rongrong's current 4 spirit abilities, what's most important for you is only the spirit power boost, and her other 3 effects would be useless. It would only drain her spirit power. But Dai Mabai needs attack, defense, and spirit power boosts. Agility amplification isn't as important. Being able to amplify them all would admittedly be good, But when spirit power is limited, boosting the key areas is undoubtedly where the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda can completely display its support capability. The 7 treasure glazed tile school's heart separation control is split into 5 levels: 3 aperture governing heart, 4 aperture constant heart, 5 aperture dispersed heart, 6 aperture wishful heart, and 7 aperture exquisite heart. Each level represents how many spirit abilities can be controlled at once and how many times they can be released. Such as 3 aperture governing heart, it indicates you can simultaneously manipulate 3 kinds of spirit abilities to accurately support 3 targets. 4 aperture constant heart indicates the ability to simultaneously manipulate 4 spirit abilities to support 4 targets. And under such accurate control, you can accomplish the degree I spoke of before, conducting the most suitable support to the people that need him the most. Here, Grandmaster paused a moment, continuing after giving Tang San a meaningful glance. The effect of heart separation control isn't very large for common spirit masters, because the spirit power consumption of each spirit ability is different and there is little need to release all spirit abilities in one. Consequently, the cultivation method for this heart separation control has been gradually lost with time. Only the 7 treasure glazed tile school would have it. Wrong. I hope that before the finals you will be able to at least reach the 4 aperture constant heart stage. Like that, you can at least support 4 of your comrades at once, releasing different supporting spirit abilities at different times. This is the true secret of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Understand? Ning Rongrong stuck out her tongue, saying, "Grandmaster, you really are difficult to deal with. What you said is practically the same as what Dad said. He also told me that if I wanted to really show the effects of the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda, I had to assiduously cultivate heart separation control. Only, the method for cultivating heart separation control is too difficult, and it's so boring. That's why." Grandmaster indifferently glanced at Ning Rongrong. "You're not going to say that even your 3 aperture governing heart isn't completely mastered?" Ning Rongrong's charming face turned red, but she still nodded, somewhat ashamed not daring to look at him again. Grandmaster sighed lightly, saying, "Rongrong, as a direct descendant of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, you possess circumstances that other people don't. If such a gifted spirit isn't treasured, you will definitely come to regret it. You have to cultivate the esoterics of heart separation control. Otherwise, even if you can become a titled Douluo in the future, you still won't meet the standards of a support spirit master. Can you understand teacher's efforts?" Grandmaster's voice was very mild, but such a gentle rebuke instead made Ning Rongrong feel even more ashamed. Exerting herself to nod, she said, "Grandmaster, don't worry. From today on, I will definitely work hard to cultivate heart separation control. I'll strive to reach 4 aperture constant heart shortly." Grandmaster's face held a trace of a smile, saying, "Even though I also haven't learned this heart separation control, I can teach you a method. Remember, when using your support abilities hereafter, you must become the most miserly spirit master possible yourself. Even bits and pieces of spirit power must be conserved as far as possible. Each time you support must be done just perfect, not too much, not too little. As long as you can accomplish this, your support capabilities will be on the right track." Ning Rongrong recorded what Grandmaster said in her heart, and even if she didn't completely comprehend it, what Grandmaster said let her adequately recognize the effect of heart separation control. Grandmaster sighed lightly, his gaze falling on Tang San to the side. "My reason for calling little San over is actually selfishness. Heart separation control isn't much use for ordinary spirit masters, but it's different for him. He's a control system spirit master, and moreover has twin spirits. The spirit power of his new spirit ability can't be considered high. If he can master heart separation control, then his control capabilities will be even greater on the battlefield. Especially when he possesses the spirit abilities of his second spirit later. Such circumstances will change even more clearly. Rongrong, I don't know what the rules of your 7 treasure glazed tile school say, but if it isn't expressly stipulated, when you cultivate heart separation control, can you let little San cultivate with you? Teacher. Tang San looked at Grandmaster, somewhat eagerly saying, that's no good. Heart separation control is the 7 treasure glazed tile school's secret skill. How can it be taught to me? Being from Tang Sect, he clearly understood how much the sect's most profound techniques were valued. Let alone teaching it to outsiders, even if someone lusted after it, he would immediately suffer Tang Sect's severe reprisals. Why can't I teach it? Third brother, train together with me. This actually doesn't matter. As Grandmaster said, this heart separation control originally wasn't our 7 treasure glazed tile school's sole property, but since it was useful to us, we always passed it down. What's more, with your favors to the 7 treasure glazed tile school, even if Dad was here, he would definitely agree. But Tang San still hesitated and wanted to decline, but Ning Rongrong interrupted. But what, third brother, did I say anything when you gave me the immortal treasure tulip? Did I refuse? I didn't, because I really consider you my big brother. If a big brother gives something to his little sister, why should I refuse? Although at that time I didn't know how precious that immortal treasure herb was, even if I knew, I would still definitely receive it. Right now is the same. We Shrek 7 devils are all one family. You've always been selfless to everyone. This is just one tiny technique. If you refuse again, it will be like you don't consider me your little sister. Listening to Ning Rongrong's rapid-fire interrogation, Tang San was immediately left speechless. Of course he had a mind to learn this heart separation control, but this was after all a school's secret skill. It's not like that. Rongrong, ask Uncle Ning first. If Uncle Ning says I can learn it, then I'll cultivate together with you, how's that? Ning Rongrong somewhat resentfully pouted, saying, Humph, you still won't believe me. Dad definitely won't refuse. Since you insist, I'll go find him now. Don't go now. You don't even know where Uncle Ning is. Tang San wanted to hold back Ning Rongrong. Ning Rongrong said, don't worry, I can find Dad. How couldn't our 7 treasure glazed tile school have ways to communicate? Grandmaster, I'll leave first. Finished speaking, Ning Rongrong ran directly towards the edge of the forest. Grandmaster laughed in spite of himself. This girl, she really is impetuous. Little San, don't worry. Since I proposed it, Ning Fengji naturally won't refuse. Even though this heart separation control is important to the 7 treasure glazed tile school, it's not a secret that can't be passed on to others. If my guess is correct, Ning Fengji will be eager to let you learn it. Like this, you will owe a favor to the 7 treasure glazed tile school. As schoolmaster, Ning Fengji stands tall and sees far. Whether you or your father, you're both important targets. While Rongrong is off looking for her father, tell me, what did Ning Fengji want to talk to you about? Hearing Grandmaster say this, Tang San felt more at ease. Immediately, he related in detail his meeting with Zhu Qing'er and the conversation the 3 of them had. Having heard Tang San's recount, after Grandmaster muttered to himself a while, he said, this Crown Prince's information shouldn't be common knowledge. Able to find out so much couldn't have been easy. Spirit Hall has comprehensively blocked everything about that matter. Teacher, you know something? Tang San eagerly asked. In front of Grandmaster, he never concealed anything. Grandmaster shook his head, saying, I don't. But in theory, there shouldn't be any problem with the information the Crown Prince gave you. Right now the key point lies in just what made all of Spirit Hall turn out in full strength, and when they returned in defeat, could be worth the loss of the Supreme Pontiff. Tang San's eyes suddenly brightened. Teacher, wouldn't it be a spirit bone? To spirit masters, most precious should be spirit rings and spirit bones. Spirit rings can't be taken away, but spirit bones can. Grandmaster shook his head, saying, no, I think not. If it was a spirit bone, it would be impossible for Spirit Hall to fail. Even though your father became a titled Douluo, it would still be impossible to contend with Spirit Hall. In fact, besides the Supreme Pontiff, Spirit Hall still has at least 3 titled Douluo. Even if your father was even more powerful, it would still be impossible to deal with so many powers by himself. If I'm not mistaken, the reason Spirit Hall didn't persist isn't because that thing was damaged, but because it already lost its use. Don't tell me it was a spirit beast. But how would spirit beasts be related to your father? Leaving aside how high the level of a spirit beast would have to be to draw the attention of Spirit Hall, just with the unreconciled conflict between spirit beasts and humans, it still wouldn't be near your father. And it would be impossible for your father to break away from the school to offend Spirit Hall without hesitating for a spirit beast. Grandmaster's power of deduction was doubtless powerful, but hearing his analysis, Tang San was even more confused. Just what was that thing? It seemed that the only way to know was to see his father again. Ning Rongrong wasn't gone for long, and after an hour she had already excitedly come running back with a letter in her hand. "Third brother, for you." As I said, Dad definitely agreed. The message was very simple, and Tang San recognized Ning Fengji's handwriting. It said, "Little San, heart separation control really isn't some secret skill. If it's useful, train together with Rongrong as much as possible. How could such a tiny skill compare to your contributions to 7 treasure-glazed tile school?" Ning Fengji, even though it was only a few simple words, and even though Tang San clearly understood Ning Fengji's words held some intent of drawing him in, his heart still eased, unspeakably comforted. No matter what was said, Ning Fengji was the master of a school, and also a tolerant and generous senior. And so, from this afternoon on, Tang San and Ning Rongrong cultivated this skill together. The method for cultivating heart separation control wasn't complex, but the method for cultivating this skill was different for different spirit masters. Ning Rongrong's cultivated by continuously releasing her different abilities, releasing each ability with different speed and time, looking for as great precision as possible, smoothly releasing and receiving. Right now, she simultaneously released 3 abilities, starting to cultivate the most basic 3 aperture governing heart. Volume 14, Elephant Armored School, Chapter 94, Heart Separation Controls 3 Aperture Governing Heart. With the sect skill training method Ning Rongrong handed over to Tang San, in order to grasp the separating heart control, first of all required powerful perception. Therefore, Tang San's cultivation was even simpler than Ning Rongrong's. Assigning 3 different things in 3 different directions, and constantly shifting his gaze between these 3, and moreover each time use his blue-silver grass to twist around these 3 things, twisting in 3 directions, binding and releasing in 1-second intervals. Heart separation control cultivated to the peak should be capable of controlling every change in one's surroundings. Not only was it necessary to observe these changes, but they still had to be brought completely under one's control. When described it seemed very complex, but in fact cultivating it was using one mind for multiple tasks, moreover letting the scattered mind focus. Not only did it require very high mental strength, at the same time it still required superb reaction. Tang San practiced for a full afternoon, but still didn't sense any threshold. Instead, because of constantly paying attention to 3 things in different directions, his eyes ached. Because Shrek Academy had already finished their fight of the 2nd day of the qualifying competition in advance, on the 2nd day they simply didn't go to the Heaven Do Great Spirit Arena, but stayed at the academy to cultivate. Tang San rose at dawn, customarily exercising his purple demon eye. As a result of Tang San having taken the full moon wearing autumn dew, his cultivation was a lot easier than before. Faintly breathing in the purple key from the distant horizon, while Tang San gazed, he slowly exhaled and inhaled, harmonizing his mysterious heaven skill internal strength. He seemed to be bathing in that purple key, purple and gold light glittering in his eyes, purple demon eye imperceptibly advancing. Along with the sun rising from the east, the purple key subsequently disappeared. Tang San drew a deep breath, and leapt down from the tree. Should he continue cultivating that heart separation control? Tang San somewhat helplessly reached the cultivation area from yesterday. He had always been very talented in cultivation, but he couldn't even find the threshold for this separating heart control. Yesterday he had practiced for an afternoon, but instead felt that the spirit abilities he used were somewhat chaotic. Now that he again prepared to cultivate, inwardly he couldn't help feeling some conflicting emotions. What? Can't grasp the feeling, a familiar voice echoed, and Tang San didn't need to turn around to know it was Grandmaster. Teacher, why did you come here so early? Grandmaster smiled calmly, saying, I saw your circumstances when you cultivated yesterday. This separating heart control cultivation is indeed challenging. Without perseverance and willpower, it'll be very difficult to succeed. The starting stage is especially difficult. Once you can grasp the threshold, the later cultivation will instead become easier. 3 aperture governing heart means letting the mind master 3 apertures. Don't be too anxious to control. First you need perception. Experience it with your heart, whether it's the air, smell, color, sound, touch. They will all tell you a great many things. When you can sufficiently understand what these changes represent, then your control will subsequently become a lot easier. Let the use of each spirit ability become a conditioned reflex. Even if you can't divide your heart into 3 this way, the end result won't be much different. It should be a bit easier to let yourself first reach the same effect, then again slowly grasp the feeling of separating heart control. Carefully sensing everything around, this was what Grandmaster could give Tang San. Even if he didn't know separating heart control's cultivation technique, relying on his understanding of spirits, his comprehension of cultivation methods, he was using a different path to tell Tang San to step past the threshold even easier. Listening to Grandmaster, Tang San seemed to find a trace of sensation, and he immediately closed his eyes. In order to not let this trace of sensation get away, he had to truly capture it. Tang San stood there motionlessly, Grandmaster to the side no longer uttering a word, only calmly watching his disciple. Tang San very quickly entered his cultivation state, constantly inhaling, slowly exhaling, his surroundings seeming to become empty and silent. The scent of plants flowed into his nose, his skin sensed the surrounding temperature, the calls of insects and birds transmitted through his ears. Tang San stood there quietly, using his heart to grab that trace of sensation from before. Gradually, Tang San was disappointed. That trace seemed more and more distant. He could sense some changes in the world around him, but these changes still passed far, far too quickly. Let alone grasping him, he was even unable to tell what was going on outside. Spirits can increase all your attributes, including perception. Grandmaster's magnetic voice rose once again. Tang San shook, and that trace seemed to return again. Raising his right hand, blue and purple light rushed out of his palm. With Tang San as center, black-blue-silver grass became an extension of his body and slowly spread out in all directions, making rustling sounds as they passed. Just like Grandmaster said, as he released his spirit, the instant mysterious heaven skills circulated along with the spirit. Tang San felt his perception grow several times stronger. It was as if a veil was lifted from the originally unclear sensations. Everything around him became clear at the same time. Each spreading strand of blue-silver grass brought back more and more information, being summarized in Tang San's IND. Even though he didn't use his eyes to see, he still already had a vague outline of the world around him. Using his heart to be able to sense something, blue-silver grass showed Tang San that even though they couldn't become his eyes, it was still able to make him sense the surrounding world even better. Of the spreading blue-silver grass, 3 strands moved. One curled around a small tree, making dewdrops left from the nightfall. One swung over the ground, pushing open the surrounding bushes. The last one curled around a fresh flower. The 3 strands of blue-silver grass did 3 different things, and even though it wasn't an ability, at this moment Tang San finally succeeded in the simplest 3-part heart separation. At this moment, suddenly, Tang San discovered his blue-silver grass seemed to change. Originally vague outlines became clear, and from all around, countless peculiar energies quietly rushed into his body through these blue-silver grass, then slowly diffused. It was such a simple process, but it let Tang San clearly see each detail within an area of several hundred square meters. Why was it like this? Tang San inwardly started, and along with the change in his mood, that clarity immediately faded. He hastily made himself calm down again, then continued controlling the triple heart separation, and those bizarre energies started arriving again. The bizarre energies were very scattered, each strand minute, an entirely different kind of existence from mysterious heaven skill. Their energy unexpectedly had its origins in emotions, and these emotions were familiar. While Tang San maintained his condition, he very carefully sensed the changes in these energies, trying to determine their source. Along with the clear perception in his mental world, he gradually discovered their origin. What made him extremely astonished was that these energies came from the vast expanse of blue-silver grass growing. Blue-silver grass, the most common plant on the Douluo continent, practically omnipresent. Lacking any effect besides tenacious vitality. It was because of this that Tang San's blue-silver grass spirit was known as the standard for trash spirits. But at this moment, Tang San felt all the blue-silver grass around him transmitting familiarity. Those blue-silver grass that weren't his were apparently telling him something, just like orphans finding relatives. It was precisely this familiarity that let them become Tang San's eyes, ears, and nose. Everything they sensed was transmitted to Tang San's brain. At this moment, Tang San seemed to become the heart of the forest. His perception even gradually extended beyond a kilometer. He could clearly feel that, within this Shrek Academy forest, all the blue-silver grass was swaying slightly at the same rhythm because of conforming with his aura. This kind of feeling was unspeakably moving. Tang San discovered that each strand of his own blue-silver grass seemed to be spurring the vitality of the wild blue-silver grass. All kinds of information from the wild blue-silver grass transmitted to him, and those blue-silver grass he released also softly moved according to this information. Right now, Grandmaster was looking at a bizarre scene. Spreading from Tang San's feet, all the blue-silver grass stood up sharply, softly swaying at the same rhythm, releasing a joyful feeling, and the white spirit power Tang San originally released gradually changed into a faint blue. Variation. This was Grandmaster's first thought. Practically immediately, he thought to interrupt Tang San. Variation could admittedly bring even more power, but it could equally possibly turn him useless. In no way did he want his disciple to follow his course in life. However, Grandmaster still restrained his impulses. Because he discovered that right now, Tang San seemed to be the same as the surrounding blue-silver grass, all blending into the forest, even his human aura disappeared. Right now he was just like an enormous strand of blue-silver grass, his body also swaying softly like the blue-silver grass around him. The complex energy fluctuations of variation didn't appear, but rather became soft and harmonious. As time passed, Tang San seemed to melt into the surrounding world. Even with all his knowledge, Grandmaster still didn't understand what was happening. After considering it from all angles for a moment, he didn't dare rashly interrupt. With the strange feeling constantly spreading through his body, Tang San felt himself become unprecedentedly relaxed. Gradually, the blue-silver grass on the ground began to change. As if washed in his aura, it unexpectedly began to turn black. Just at the start, only the several square meters of blue-silver grass under Tang San's feet showed this change, but as time passed, the affected range began to grow larger and larger. Even more bizarre, those blue-silver grass clearly didn't have the support of Tang San's spirit power, but they still grew frantically, each strand swaying along with Tang San's blue-silver grass. Watching the spreading black, Grandmaster was inwardly somewhat panicked. Besides the toxicity, these blue-silver grass appeared to become exactly the same as Tang San's. And at this time, Tang San felt another kind of condition. He discovered that among the changed blue-silver grass, he also sensed a loneliness in the hearts of the blue-silver grass that had grown in the forest for who knew how many years. That kind of particular feeling made the spirit power within him fluctuate and release, and after interacting with the strange energy from the blue-silver grass, it again condensed within him. Suddenly, Grandmaster's eyes flashed, and his gaze at Tang San filled with incredulity. He had finally thought of one circumstance that matched Tang San's current appearance: a first-rate mimicry environment cultivation. So-called first-rate mimicry environment cultivation was when one cultivated in the most suitable environment, allowing oneself to completely fuse with the surroundings, becoming a part of it. In this way, not only did cultivation speed improve, but it also let the spirit become even more pure, and increased attributes overall. But, as far as Grandmaster knew, it was only possible for such first-rate mimicry environment cultivation to occur for spirit masters above the 70th rank. It required tremendous mental strength. And even then, it still wasn't something any spirit master could accomplish. It was only possible for some special spirits. Tang San was only on the 41st rank. How was it possible for this state to appear? The greatest benefit of heart separation control could be summed up in one word: simultaneity. Simultaneous control of different things, capable of letting abilities be fully used without gaps. With outstanding heart separation control, one could grasp each property of one's own spirit abilities as well as the effect on the target. This was what the 7 treasure glazed tile school pursued as the #1 auxiliary system spirit. What Tang San accomplished right now wasn't actually heart separation control, but rather another, even more terrifying ability: environment control. Relying on the aura of one's own spirit to control organisms with similar attributes. What kind of frightful scene was that? With Tang San as its center, blue-silver grass showed growth in an area of more than 100 square meters before stopping. Right now, Tang San was within a dense ocean of blue-silver grass. From this moment on, he didn't need to separate blue-silver grass from his own body. As long as it was an area with blue-silver grass, any blue-silver grass could become a part of his spirit. Let alone Tang San. Even Grandmaster hadn't even imagined that this cultivation would produce such a result. When Tang San awoke from his immersion, it was already an hour later. Ning Rongrong had already arrived at some point, and stood at Grandmaster's side. The two were both looking at him with odd expressions. "Teacher, why are you looking at me like that?" Tang San puzzled asked. Right now, as he separated from the previous feeling, that frantically growing blue-silver grass had returned to normal, as if nothing ever happened. Grandmaster said in a low voice, "Little San, what did you feel just now? What you did, tell me in detail." Tang San was equally puzzled, and recounted everything he felt after immersing himself in that strange ambience. After listening to him, before waiting for Tang San to raise any questions, Grandmaster rushed to say, "First I'll tell you what I saw before." "How is it possible?" Tang San dumbstruck looked at Grandmaster. "Teacher, you're saying that the wild blue-silver grass here just now grew just like my blue-silver grass. But my spirit power wasn't consumed. Moreover, it even seems to have increased a lot, about the same as one night of cultivation." Grandmaster nodded affirmation. "I also don't know why such circumstances would appear for you. According to what you said, this blue-silver grass was all very familiar to you, without the slightest trace of rejection. As a low-grade plant, blue-silver grass can at most be considered as having instinct. It basically can't be regarded as an intelligent organism. Their sense of familiarity towards you might only be originating from your own aura. But I haven't met many plant system spirit masters, and never one who could attract similar plants like you." Hearing that Grandmaster was also unable to explain what happened just now, Tang San couldn't help feeling perplexed. He could only feel that what happened was beneficial and harmless to him, but also couldn't say why. Anyway, there's no harm, so there should be no need to insist on finding a cause. Third brother, you're just this confused by yourself. In the eyes of outsiders you're already a freak, a bit more freakishness doesn't matter. Ning Rongrong wasn't particularly shocked. Tang San had already astonished everyone too many times, and she was already used to it. Tang San helplessly said, "It seems I can only let it be confusing. Perhaps I will understand it later." Rongrong, look. While speaking, 3 strands of blue-silver grass shot out from Tang San. He didn't even move, But those 3 strands already accomplished 3 entirely different actions in different directions. One strand struck like a whip, one strand formed a circle in the air, and the last strand directly launched the binding ability to twist around a large tree. The 3 strands of blue-silver grass moved simultaneously, without any gap in between. The 3 actions were also accomplished at exactly the same time. Ah, third brother, you succeeded. Ning Rongrong opened her eyes wide. Even though I was slacking when I was at home, I still practiced for several years without reaching your current level. How did you do it? Tang San smiled wryly. I didn't really succeed. If it was somewhere else it wouldn't work. It's just that because of the state I was in just now, every change in the surroundings is already branded in my mind. I only need to simultaneously transmit my thoughts, and without even needing to use my eyes to lock the target, I can easily perform 3 actions. But it's still impossible to constantly control their changes. That still requires a certain delay. If it wasn't here, even controlling them to do the first action would be impossible. But no matter what is said, I seem to have already grasped some tricks. Ning Rongrong suddenly stalked over in front of Tang San, staring at him fixedly. Her beautiful eyes were breath-catching, and further adding their proximity, able to feel each other's breath, Tang San immediately started. Hastily, awkwardly avoiding Ning Rongrong's gaze, he simultaneously retreated a step. Rongrong, what are you doing? Ning Rongrong said grimly, with a blank face, third brother, you know. Sometimes I really want to beat open your head and take a look at what's inside. Next to you, the rest of us can't call ourselves monsters. Before she'd even finished speaking, she couldn't help laughing herself. Grandmaster said, fine, no need to be noisy. Since little San has also grasped some threshold, both of you continue practicing. If you want to succeed, you need to make 100% effort, otherwise even talent will become mediocrity. The dull cultivation continued. While Tang San practiced heart separation control, in his mind always appeared the mental relaxation and the feeling from when he released his blue-silver grass spirit to the surrounding wild blue-silver grass. He vaguely understood that this kind of feeling didn't seem to be something that plant system spirit masters possessed. Could it be that his blue-silver grass spirit was somehow special? Only, for such a long time of cultivation, it still hadn't exhibited any special characteristics. This question always hung in Tang San's mind. He was still pondering it even when the 3rd day of the Continental Advanced Spirit Master Academy Elite Tournament began. The tournament had already been going for 2 days, and all Spirit Master Academies had also completed their first round of the qualifiers. Among these 28 Spirit Master teams, the unluckiest was certainly Heaven Do Imperial Academy's 2nd team. Even though they had the help of healing system Spirit Masters, broken bones and snapped tendons wasn't something that could be healed in 1 or 2 days. To recover from the advance match wasn't very likely. Even the strength of their main force was so ordinary, let alone their substitutes. Today was the start of the 2nd round of the qualifiers. When the Shrek 7 Devils and the others arrived outside the Heaven Do Great Spirit Arena, they immediately felt the difference in treatment. When the spectators assembled outside of the Great Spirit Arena saw their green attire, they took the initiative to get out of their way. There was still comments, but they were a lot fewer. Those gazers like brambles and thorns had also disappeared, replaced by respect. As the first match of the first round of the qualifiers, Shrek Academy left a deep impression in the hearts of the audience. Even though the fight was very short, the burst power of the 7 Shrek Academy members on stage, and their merciless attack, none failed to make the audience's hearts flutter. The strength they revealed made these spectators no longer dare underestimate this strangely dressed team. Showing 2 40th level Spirit Masters alone already made him the hot topic of the qualifying competition. Today Flender didn't run forward on his own. Instead he was dressed in the same kind of uniform as the students, striding forward with his head high, a proud expression on his face. Even though there weren't any jeers from the onlookers, the Shrek Academy team members still lowered their heads. Sure enough, they had used strength to tell everyone they weren't fish bellies. But now the words on their backs had changed. As a result of Shrek Academy's perfect display in the first match, and further adding Flender's silver tongue, they successfully found sponsors. That was a business selling top-quality flower nectar. Reportedly, half the flower nectar in the entire Heaven Do Empire was produced by them. Flower nectar was juice extracted from fresh flowers, and passing a certain mixing and compounding, it was put into the bath water, giving people the corresponding fragrance after bathing. It was a favorite of women, whether nobles or commoners, none had immunity to flower nectar. Of course, they purchased different grades. By now the letters on the Shrek Academy team members' backs had become Bottomless Charm, Wonderfully Fragrant Flower Nectar, Bathe Healthier. When seeing the new uniforms, the Shrek 7 devils were all struck dumb, besides Ma Hongjun, who was comparatively familiar with Flender, and had comforted everyone that at least his teacher hadn't found a chamber pot manufacturer. Otherwise, they wouldn't have needed go out. The price for those wonderfully fragrant flower nectar words was also rather attractive. 1,000 gold spirit coins for one match, until the whole competition ended, through the qualifiers. When the promotion competition came, the award would increase to 2,000 gold spirit coins. If they could reach the final 3, there was another 50,000 gold spirit coins. Calculating it, if the Shrek Academy could take the championship, then they could also receive more than 100,000 gold spirit coins. Obtaining such income simply by having words like that on their backs made Flender quite satisfied. In order to make the Shrek 7 devils wear the clothes, today he led by example. If it was someone other than Flender, perhaps the Shrek 7 devils wouldn't have agreed to wear it no matter what. But they could never forget Flender's expression when he had to close the previous Shrek Academy because of financial problems. Therefore, despite the pain in their hearts, they still wore these more than extraordinary uniforms. As they entered the Great Spirit Arena under the gazes of the spectators, this time they were greeted by 2 functionaries, bringing them to the competing team's rest area. Starting from yesterday, each day would have 14 matches. Seeing the Shrek Academy's arrival, there were a lot of gazes from the other teams. The one who earned the most attention was no doubt Tang San with the 10,000-year spirit ring. The skill he had revealed indeed proved his peak skill. By now the words on the backs of the Shrek Academy uniforms had changed, but these academies about to become their opponents didn't pay attention to that. What they cared about was how to defeat Shrek Academy. "Dean, who are our opponents today?" Dai Mabai asked Flender. Flender looked distracted a moment, saying, "How should I know? Is it me participating in the competition or you?" He had spent these days finding advertisers, not just the present flower nectar shop, but he'd also discussed prices with several more. How could he have the time to pay attention to the competition? Dai Mabai was speechless a moment. "Sir, you can't only care about money. You should still have some concern for us." Flender grinned, saying, "Stinking brat, do you have a point?" Seeing the monstrous expression in Flender's eyes, Dai Mabai shivered, and hastily shook his head. "No, none." Flender smiled. "Even if I'm the dean, I still delegate the work. Don't worry, Erlong has been observing your opponents. She'll give you a detailed rundown of your opponents later. I must remind you, if you can't obtain the championship, I won't let you graduate." As he spoke, Grandmaster and Lu Erlong came walking over together. They hadn't followed Flender's example, and both wore their own clothes. Grandmaster and Lu Erlong's expressions seemed somewhat strange, and the Shrek 7 devils could read a serious mood from their faces. Could it be that they would actually meet trouble in the qualifiers? Seeing everyone's attentive gazes, Grandmaster spoke in a low voice. "Your opponents for the second round of the qualifiers are very powerful. You have 3 options right now. The first is to give up on this match, preserving your strength. After all, in the qualifiers, the 5 teams with the most points can enter the finals. Second, is to go up with the formation from the first fight, but you won't have even 1% chance of victory. Third, is bringing out your full force, but even if you can win, your full strength will certainly have been exposed." The Shrek 7 devils all looked at each other. They couldn't understand just what kind of opponent could make Grandmaster put on such a serious face. Could this opponent even compare to the Emperor team? To the side, Lu Erlong said, "You've all heard of the Elephant Armored School. Ranked the 6th of the 7 great schools. Your opponents today come from the Elephant Armored Academy run by them. The 7 members on the other side are all directly related disciples of the Elephant Armored School. 3 of them have reached the 40th rank, the other 4 also have close to 40th ranked strength. You might say it's the elite of the Elephant Armored School's young generation." Elephant Armored School. Hearing these 3 words, the Shrek 7 devils couldn't help having serious expressions. They were very clear on what these words represented. Just like the 7 treasure-glazed tile school was named the most powerful support school, the Elephant Armored School had their own title, the most powerful defensive school. The Elephant Armored School's hereditary spirit was the Diamond Mammoth, a super spirit with extremely high defense, its attributes mainly embodying strength and defense. Of equal level spirits, practically no spirit master could breach the defense. If it wasn't for their lack of a title Douluo, perhaps their ranking among the 7 great schools wouldn't have been merely 6th. Despite this, the Elephant Armored School Master, an 87th ranked spirit Douluo, could rely on his tyrannical defense to stiffly block the attacks of title Douluo that weren't offensively focused. It clearly showed the power of their spirit. Hearing Grandmaster's words, everyone sunk into contemplation. Grandmaster continued, "If it was in a spacious battle, perhaps your first formation would still have a chance. The Elephant Armored School's worst area is speed. Relying on movement to exhaust the enemy's spirit power is a good choice. But with the size of the competition stage, you practically won't stand a chance. Even though the opponents don't have a support spirit master, because they all have identical spirits, their overlaying might is astonishing. From a theoretical standpoint, in order to gain the final victory, I advise you to give up this match. After all, you're safe as long as you're in the top 5 in the qualifiers. There's nothing improper about hiding your strength in the early stage." Flender shrieked, "If you avoid battle, I'll fucking..." Lu Erlong unhappily glared at him. "Boss Fu, I can see the coins in your eyes. You have to look at it long term. Just in case the little monsters are seriously hurt in this fight, later matches will be even harder to handle. There are a lot of talents among the Advanced Spirit Master Academies. Don't forget that their opponents are up to 25 years old. If they were 25 as well, then of course there wouldn't be any question, but their strength development is restricted by their age." Flender looked at Dai Mabai and Tang San with a bitter face. "Decide on your own." Dai Mabai and Tang San looked at each other, but neither made a sound. To the side, Ma Hongjun couldn't help saying, "If we all appear on stage, what does it matter if others learn of our strength?" Oscar said, "Of course it's no good if we let others see our strength beforehand. That way the opponents can come up with tactics against us. Perhaps these qualifiers don't matter, but don't forget that we'll face even more powerful opponents in the promotion competition and the finals. Losing the element of surprise would be disadvantageous to us." Dai Mabai asked Tang San, "Little San, what do you think? You're the soul of the team, the main director. It's your decision." Faint radiance flashed through Tang San's eyes, tightly clenching both fists. "Fight." Even though his reply was just one simple word, this word simultaneously roused the spirits of all the Shrek Academy people. An intense fighting spirit pervaded the air around Tang San. Tang San's gaze turned to Grandmaster, who was watching him intently. "Teacher, I understand the 3 options you raised. But I think there's still a way to compromise. We admittedly want to obtain the final victory in the competition, but at the same time we also want to practice our live combat capability and adaptability. If we shrink back when faced with a powerful opponent, there would be a large influence on morale. Therefore, I think it would be better to take a middle route. Adjusting the members going up, without exposing our entire hidden strength, but also bringing enough strength to defeat the opponents.